I drive my car up to the lake as if there's someone to awake. I haven't been to bed for days. I live in a twilight haze. And I set my heart to the setting sun, and I hope that no one else has done it. And the drinks are never far. Open up the bar.
Cool, man. Alrighty, I think we're all good to go. I've got a list of questions, which I probably won't ask you all of them, but anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got them there. Hey, so John, thank you for coming in today and doing this podcast with us. Now, you've just been a customer here. You've been popping past, having a breakfast and a coffee, and we started chatting, and I found out that you're from Spain.
Yep.
And you're here studying at Lincoln University.
At Landcare Research.
Landcare Research, and which is out in a place called Lincoln.
Yep.
And tell us what you're studying, because it's really interesting. And go.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me here.
No worries.
And well, this is part of a big project, actually, what I'm doing right here. Mm-hmm. But I came with some bumblebee guts, which is quite funny, actually, the story of how I got here. And the main research right now here is to learn what the actual guts have inside. So we're doing a DNA extraction.
Yep.
We are kind of crushing all those guts and extracting the DNA from bacteria, from plants, and from fungi. So we got to see first. The main study, let's say, would be bacteria, just because we have seen that different bees and bumblebee species share the same kind of bacteria inside their guts. So pretty much it's just to check how, well, I'd get into that later, I guess.
Yeah.
Then plant is because we also do research by observing. So we have records of how the different bumblebees and bees go to different plants.
Yeah.
So we got to see if that matches our record.
Yep.
Or if we have we're missing some data in between or whatever is going on there.
So the stomachs themselves, so you brought some over from Spain to compare presumably to New Zealand ones?
One of the objectives is that actually,
comparison.
We have some I think bees guts here.
Yeah.
And they're also planning on taking me to the field here. We haven't gone yet, but now that is spring, summer season. It's starting the field season.
But primarily, you're going to use the ones that you've brought over from Spain, and you're going to really look at those.
Yeah. For the moment, it's the main thing. I'm just going with them. But eventually, we're planning on getting some of here and do a comparison between what they have in there and what they have in here.
Yeah.
So that would be cool too, to see if they share the same species or there are different species inside.
And does Landcare Research have special facilities that makes it easier to do that, to sort of have a look at the guts?
Yeah, actually, they have a really cool and awesome lab with an awesome team.
Yeah.
Here, Dr. Manpreet is the one that is taking care of me. She's an expert in all that kind of microbiome and gut stuff.
Yeah.
So she really, really knows how to deal with that. And she has some amazing people that are teaching me all the techniques. Mainly it's her postdoc called Marion. Marion is an expert. She has worked with fungi and with, different bacteria also inside the bumblebee's gut, or bee's gut, sorry.
Yeah.
Pretty much she's the one that is teaching me all the techniques.
Cool.
So it's they have an amazing facility, have an amazing lab. And sort of what we're doing here is also to learn the proper techniques.
Yeah,
because we don't have the knowledge, or at least, I don't have the knowledge to do that. So I have come here to learn the proper technique to do that.
Oh, cool. So how many bumblebee stomachs have you brought with you
That's actually
into our country?
That's a good question. I brought 132.
Wow.
So it was funny because when I got to customs, I was getting into the airport, and suddenly, like, they asked me if I had something to declare, and obviously, like, I wanted to declare that.
Right.
So I have to seal them properly, like, have some paperwork inside, making sure that everything was all right.
Yeah.
And when I got here, and like the customs people were asking me, they were like, wait, what are you bringing in here?
Yeah.
So they opened the bag, they started like looking at it,
Yeah.
and they were kind of amused.
Yeah.
And I was like, with a proper paper sheet, just telling them how to proceed, because they didn't know how to proceed. So they were amused, like, oh my God, you really know better than us. And by the end of the kind of chat we had together, 9 people were around me just looking at what I have in the bag.
So can you, just with your, like, you know, with the naked eye, you can see a bee stomach. Is it, how big are we talking?
Okay, yeah, that's actually...
Because 132 stomachs might be, you know, not take up too much space.
No, it takes like... Actually, they don't take that much space. So I brought them in 2 boxes, like this. There might be like 15 by 15 or something like that, centimeters. Each bumblebee gut might be like...
All right.
This size.
So
it depends, like... Because
it's the full digestive tract kind of thing.
Yeah. It has like 3 different parts, mainly. So it's still you can clearly see how it is, how big it is, and like you can extract it quite easily. Yeah. You kind of grab it from the stinger and pull, and it will come out.
Yes.
So it's how you will do it.
I have heard that happens.
That was a big aha moment right there.
Well, look, that's not something that I think about often, but I have heard that when a bee stings and it withdraws, I've seen that on Nature is Metal, which is an Instagram sort of page where they show all of these different interesting things about animals. And these bees stinging and pulling away, and it removes pretty much...
part of the stomach. Yeah, that's because they are stinger. So the difference between wasps and actually bumblebees and other like honeybees is that honeybees, their stinger is kind of, let's say, edgy. So whenever they sting you, it will get trapped. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a saw shape. So it will get trapped and they ripped off their guts. While the other ones are like completely flat. So whenever they sting you, it will come out. And the amount of venom or that they inject you is quite less. Yeah. Rather than the one of the bees that stays there and kind of keeps pumping up the venom.
Oh, okay. Because that's right. So the venom sac keeps on pumping. Yeah. Like after it's sort of the bee's flown off and goes away and dies, and the sting stays in your arm and it pumps.
It's an acid, right? They're pumping an acid.
Yeah, it's
and presumably because it's attached to the stomach, it must, like the bee must. I don't know. Does the venom change in the species and stuff?
Actually, that's a question that I don't really know how to answer because I'm not an expert in venom. But what I would say is that I know that there are different intensities of venom. Yeah. So, like bumblebees, for example, usually if it stings you, which is quite weird because they are usually really peaceful animals, it won't hurt you, or like it can do a little bruise, but usually since it goes on and off, like it will sting you and come out. Yep. They won't hurt you that much as a regular bee, which would be like in there pumping up the venom, making you a really big. Yep. Also, depending on the species, you can have. I guess they do have different venoms because some species can like actually hurt you a lot.
Because there's a phenomenal amount of species and genera and all that lot of bees, right?
The what?
There's a huge amount of types of bees.
Yeah. There are like 20,000 different species, around 20,000 in the world. So another interesting thing about that is that we're actually not only focusing on the honeybee or the bumblebees, but like all the different wild species that are in the field. Right. Because the problem with honeybees is that usually, because they go in community, they are eusocial. So that means that they form like societies, let's say. Yeah. They kind of left apart and move apart all the other wild bees because usually wild bees are solitary. So they go alone by themselves. They are like, let's call them single mothers.
Yeah.
That's like a term that some scientists use just to refer as them like an easy way to understand them. So they will work alone and create this little nest for each larvae, and they will go little by little during all the season just trying to feed them. But like honeybees, they work all together. So as they are a group, they can kind of left apart the rest, and they are rather more generalist, while these with like plant species.
Yeah.
While the wild bees are usually more specialist, and they can like focus just in one plant. So the problem of missing some wild species is that some plants might get without pollination, and they can get like extinct in the end.
So your studies are essentially they're there to teach us more about the health of bees, what the service that they provide, the pollination, and sort of seeing how they're doing like health-wise and things. So the stomach contents will give you an indication of that.
Yeah, that's it. Like at the end, like as we have here our microbiome, and that will keep us healthy. Same happens with bees.
Yep.
So even if we are focusing on honeybees, it's interesting to know that like the guts will tell us how healthy they are. So if they have, usually bumblebees and honeybees will have around, let's say, 6-10 species of known bacteria that they are always in there, and those will keep like the health of the bumblebee, saying that like they will make competence. I don't know if that's the right word, but like they will compete against other bacteria that can come inside and kind of harm the bee or the honeybee.
Yep.
Like imagine like any bacteria that can make you a constipation or something like that.
Yeah.
Those will provide you defense against them, right? Because they compete against the one that actually wants to hurt you. So it's kind of like the same.
So it's like a protection.
Yeah. It's a protection. It will also. So we're actually wanting to know more about that. If maybe it's not only protection, but also like diet preference, for example. So that's why we have all this data. In the field, we have done not just like catching bumblebees, but also like gathering like the plant species that we had in there. So we have like biomass of the plants to know the amount of plants that were in the field during the season.
Right.
So we have done 4 months of season work, which was from April to the end of July. So during these 4 months, we will kind of see the progress of all the species that they were in the field.
Yep.
So we will see all the changes of like the first species that come out in the early season, and then how it goes changing all over the season.
Yeah.
And that's also like a really interesting approach, because like none other like research group have really actually studied about that. So we are trying to figure out how it changes during the season and how the microbiome might be affected during the season. Also because like in nectar is the sugar content in the flowers. They will share, because they stick their tongue out, and it's called the proboscis. The proboscis will gather the nectar. During that process, they will change microbes, and they will be stuck in the nectar. So that's a different way also of transmission, those microbiomes.
Right. So seasonally the nectar changes.
So when they stick the proboscis into the nectar, they put some microbiome into the nectar, and the next bee comes along. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
So it mixes the biome.
So that's how can it be changed. So that's also one of the aims of our or objectives of our experiment, is to see if you actually introduce honeybees, or if you introduce some other species into the especially honeybees, because honeybees at the end is like what usually people have at home. Like they will have a beehive, and with those beehives, like you can actually produce honey. So with that honey, how it's produced, like the bee has to go to the flower and get into the nectar, right? So that's how they will transmit, and maybe other bees get that bacteria that the honeybees are living in there. And they would be affected. So that's also kind of like the process we're seeing.
It's like drinking out of somebody's else's glass at the pub or something.
Something
Yeah.
like that.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah, mate.
Yeah.
Or not.
Or not.
What's the
Makes everybody
difference
weaker.
between the nectar and the pollen?
Oh, that's a cool question right there. Nectar would be like the sugar that the plant makes. So it's kind of like let's say a reward that the plant makes for like to attract different pollinators. The pollen, it's let's call like the plant sperm. So it's like the male part of like the male seed of the flower. The flower will have like an ovary. Where the pollen has to get inside.
Yeah.
So if the animal wraps against the pollen, it will carry those kind of sperm particles.
I've read in a little article that the bee, I think it's called the anther on the male part,
Yeah.
and the bees buzz at a C note. So my microphone's real echoing or something. But the bee makes a
it
it's
buzz.
like this, the buzz. It's like at the level, like the note of C in music, the musical scale,
Okay. I didn't know that.
and it wraps against the anther and knocks all the bits of pollen out.
Yeah, that's it. Like they
Yeah,
will.
yeah. No,
They will.
It's very fascinating.
Okay, I didn't know that they actually buzzed in C note. I didn't know that they were that good musicians, but I knew that they buzz against the anthera, so the pollen will leave. Also, they actually eat the pollen too, because pollen is usually it has like a high content in protein, while the nectar is high content in sugar and carbohydrates. So it's kind of like a mixture between both. But the plant needs the pollen to be like pollinated, and then to create the actual fruit. So like in the ovary of the plant, it will be like different seeds that if the pollen gets in, it will create actual seeds. So when you have a fruit, it will have different amount of seeds depending on how many ovaries have been.
Right, I see.
Yes.
Flip. I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's
So
cool.
that's also a thing we do actually.
Yeah.
We in the field with these old tiny flowers,
Yeah.
we will gather the fruit and count how many seeds. For example, we can see
Yeah, I
it
see.
easily with the peas.
Yep.
If you had like a pea, if you open it, you will see like
Yeah.
some will have
Yeah,
7, some will have
Yeah.
5, some
Yeah.
will have whatever. So it's depending on the amount. And sometimes you will see like the little tiny ones that are kind of like they didn't get pollen inside. So that's why they are so tiny and they haven't matured.
Ah, I see.
I haven't materialised.
That's incredible. I mean, immediately I was just started thinking of those like seedless fruit that they've somehow bred. Like,
Yeah, that's also
crazy. I guess that's kind of breaking nature in a way. It's not, not quite right.
That's a kind of genetic modification right there. So what they do in there, I know that if depending on the amount of chromosomes that a plant species has, like it can have like multiple chromosomes. So if they double the amount or they triple the amount, it will be bigger. But also if you have an even number of chromosomes, even number of copies of chromosomes, it will be sterile, so it won't produce seeds.
Ah, I see.
So it's kind of like a tricky thing that they would do with the GMOs, with genetic modified organisms, just to...
So now you're specifically studying bumblebees, correct?
Yep.
Which are the large, black and yellow, stripy, orange, black and orange, quite furry little creatures. Now, tell us about them a little bit more in detail. Like, what's their life cycle? So you talked about how the flowers will change over a season.
Yep.
How long does a bee live for, like a bumblebee?
That's a cool question, I guess. So bumblebees actually have an annual life cycle, so they only live for a year.
Right.
Well, for a season, let's say. So what happens is the queen is the first one coming out in summer. Mm-hmm. That's the only individual that stays alive through the end of last season.
Ah, I see.
So it will be hibernating during the winter. And in spring, when the heat starts, it will come out of the hibernating spot, and it will go gathering some nectar and pollen just to start creating the nest.
Yeah.
Once it has gathered a little bit of and has found a proper spot to create the nest, usually underground.
Yep.
It will start feeding some larvae And when it has like around 10 or so individuals, like 10 larvae that they are actually like adult, the queen will stay in the nest and don't do anything else. Like she will just focus on having more larvae and like new breed, while the other 10 or so will go gathering the the food and nectar and pollen to feed the rest. So just like the queen will stay there, they will keep producing nectar for them, or they will gathering nectar for them, and after like a month or so, like the colony will grow, and they usually grow to like, it can be mostly until like 500 individuals or so. It depends on the colony. It can be like from 100, 200, 300, or even 500 individuals. Then all those individuals that are not queens will die at the end of the season. And the queens that are like born, because at some point they will be born new queens. Those new queens will be fed a lot and so on to pass the winter, and the old queen will die. So the new ones will stay for during the winter, and they will come out next spring again.
Wow.
So there's just least for a year.
How does a queen become a queen?
Usually they feed them. Well, it's also for pheromones. There's like different chemical processes involved. For honeybees, for example, it's due to their diet. So they will have a special. Actually, I don't know how you call it in.
Is it royal jelly?
Royal
jelly.
Yeah. That's the thing. That might be the word, because in Spanish is something like that.
Yeah.
So thank you for helping me with that.
No, I read a Roald Dahl. He's a English writer, and he wrote a short story about royal jelly.
So feeding with that, the larvae, they will become queens eventually. So it's mainly about like the diet, the composition in the pheromones and stuff.
Cool. And what are the other roles in a community of bumblebees?
That's good.
What are the roles? Who does what?
So that's actually also a cool question. Usually, what I've read is that even if there might be like differences, I get. The bigger ones usually are foragers, so they will go out and gather the nectar and the pollen just because they can gather more. But that's not always like that. Sometimes like smaller ones can also gather food and stuff. And the small bumblebees usually will be more nursing. So it's kind of like they stay in the nest and they will like provide help to the larvae, like spread the food. The thing is that since the nest is kind of like, let's imagine it round shape, the ones in the middle usually get more food, while the ones outside are kind of like forgotten in sometimes. So the ones outside usually are smaller in size when they grow up, and the ones in the middle will be bigger. So the bigger ones will still keep being 4 years and so on.
So that system's almost making sure there's going to be some smaller bees to do all the tasks inside the nest, and the big ones to go out.
But it's always not like that. Like sometimes the small bees also can go out and keep
back and forth.
But it's kind of I guess a natural way of like shortening everything and making sure that everyone has its role.
In order to prepare for this podcast, we watched a little bit of the Bee Movie. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's like a Disney film.
Seinfeld?
Jerry Seinfeld, who's a comedian.
It's from the 1987 or something.
It's an animation about a little bee that wants to be one of the ones that goes out and gathers the nectar and the honey as well. But he's small. It's not his role.
So so you've got the big jocks.
And
he wants to go out. He wants to go outside and see what's out there.
Okay.
But the clip that I watched, it's like really good.
It's
like really well done.
It sounds kind of accurate.
It was sort of based on the different biomass of different body sizes of the bees. And the little one wanted to go out, but the little ones go out anyway, don't they? But they can't carry as much back.
Even if they cannot carry as much, they will go out anyway. And our at least this season, we have seen that like the body size, actually it's supposed to be increasing during the time, just because like at the beginning the queen won't feed them as much as like later on the other workers can gather and feed them. and so the later ones will be bigger just because they have been they've been taken better, I guess. But the problem with our study is that it doesn't really show that. It kind of shows like a really different size during all the season. And I guess that might be also because the bigger ones, maybe because they are big, are eaten just because birds can see them better, or I don't really know.
Or like, maybe the food supply was sort of something went up and down.
That's the kind of things that we have to discover and kind of see with the time.
I mean, it's such a complex system.
So now they're gathering, the guys that are gathering things, or are they guys or girls? Or are they...
Well, actually, they are all girls.
Yeah.
They are females.
Okay.
Mainly females. Like later on, by the end of the season, usually the males will appear. And just for mating.
I see.
Mating purposes. So when the new queens are born, actually that's something I didn't forget about, like the life cycle, is that when the queens are born, like the males will copulate with them, just so they have the eggs prepared for the next season. That's why they have
fertilized.
So the fertilized ones will be females. The unfertilized ones will be males.
Right.
Right.
So the females go out. They gather pollen and nectar. Yeah. And then they bring that back for the team.
And
they just pass it over to them.
Symbiotic relationship with the flowers and the bees. They're helping each other out.
That's the thing.
Which is so much about how everything works.
It's a really mutual symbiotic relationship, which is like completely amazing how they do it. And the cool part is just not only bees or honeybees will pollinate. We can also see like beetles, pollination. We can also see flies and hoverflies. Like they are actually really good pollinators too.
I was reading, because I got quite interested in the articles that you sent. It's like, wow. And so I went down a couple of little rabbit holes. And like moths pollinate at night. Some flowers open up at night.
That's it. Like that's our study doesn't focus on that because like we haven't studied the night pollinators, but my director here, she has studied some night pollination too. So even I think, if I'm not wrong, I think I read cockroaches also will even pollinate a little bit at night. They will go out and seek some flowers and kind of while they are feeding, they will pollinate. But like there are some flowers that definitely just are pollinated at night. So it's really interesting.
I read that there's 20 times more moths than bees maybe. But you don't really notice them because they're all at night, you know?
Yeah.
It's all a fascinating subject.
Like moths and butterflies are like a really broader group of animals, which are like super big. And also, obviously, like butterflies will also pollinate. But the problem not the problem, but I guess some moths, they don't even feed. That's really interesting. So they will feed when they are larvae, but then when they are old, they will come out as an adult without a mouth or anything like that.
Wow.
So they will just gather energy and then try to reproduce and die without eating anything. It's kind of like their main...
It's crazy.
So they will be living maybe like a year or two or even more, just feeding and feeding as a larvae. Then they will create the cocoon, and when they come out, they will be just reproductive purpose.
Yeah, full on.
So most of their life cycles is the larvae.
Yeah. So that's kind of a tricky question sometimes with butterflies and so on, that they say like, oh, they only live for like a week or a day or whatever, or like even flies. But like then again, it's not true because as a larvae, they have lived like a long period of time.
So I noticed in that first paper you sent us, there's a difference between the larvae biome and the adult biome.
That's also, we're not studying that, but there's actually like some studies, and in the one I sent you, that there is differences between like the adults and the larvae. Yes. And that's like a really interesting thing, but the problem is that we're not like seeking for the nest, the actual like where the colony is. So we're not taking the larvae with us. And I guess that's a part that we're missing in our study, because that would be interesting to see how in the season and during the season it changes. Like all those changes are like completely like what we are into. We want to know what is going on in there.
So is the biome, is it changing all the time throughout the season? All the bacteria and so forth?
That's what we don't really know.
Right.
And what we're, like, our study right now, it's a pilot study because we have gathered all these samples in the natural park. And
can I just butt in there? Did you get your 132, was it, stomachs from the same sort of community? Did you get it all at the same time, or was it a...
No, it was in the whole period, so that's
right.
a cool question too. So our project, well, I should have mentioned that before, but I work at BC3 in Spain, which is the Basque Center for Climate Change. So we're focused on kind of all the stuff related with climate change and like with nature, environment. And our project is mainly focused in a natural park just because like honeybees are actually, like, because of the warming, they have seen like a lot of problems with them, and they need to go upper in the mountain just because of the temperatures. Because of the rising temperatures, they have to like manage better. So they want to introduce them or like put them in different parts of or locations of the natural park, and we're kind of like aiming to teach them or to see how the proper management should be done.
Yeah.
So
because they might sort of shove other native species out the way.
Regarding your question, is we have 16 points in the natural park. So there's actually like a lot of points spread all across the natural park at different heights, and we will seek for the bumblebees, gather them, and like during all the season. So in each day we will try to catch 5 bumblebees in each point. So we will do like 2 points every day. So at the end it will be like, since we have 16 points, will be 8 days for like a whole round.
Yes.
So since we are doing like 2 points every day, we'll try to get like 10 bumblebees. The problem is that sometimes you are not even able to gather, because we just focus in one species called Bombus Pascuorum, which is like an orange bumblebee. It's quite easy to identify because it's orange, completely orange.
Oh.
So it's completely different from the ones here. Like this species doesn't exist here.
Yeah. So native to Spain, is it, or no? Just in
Europe.
Yeah.
Not only Spain, but like but it's like a native. Here you only have, actually the 4 species that are here were brought from the UK.
Right.
And like an interesting fact about them is that there is one species called Bombus subterraneus that one was extinct in the UK and is still here.
Oh wow!
So that's pretty cool actually. Like it stayed alive here. I guess it found its place.
Yeah.
it liked this island better than the other ones. So yes, we have been gathering them all along the season. So that's why we have like different points and different times.
Yes.
And that's also like a relationship.
What sort of methods do you use to capture the bees?
Well, to capture them is just like we usually use just an entomological net.
Oh, yeah.
So just like kind of, you can imagine a SpongeBob with the jellyfishes. I don't know if you have ever watched SpongeBob if you have kids or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of the same. We go like
with the net.
We go with the net behind the bees, and we'll gather them. Also with the rest of pollinators. So we have some transect of 250 meters in each point that we will walk 3 times a day just to see all the open flowers and all the pollinators that visit those flowers.
Right.
So we will have to count sometimes like thousands of flowers. Like you will be with this kind of mechanical counters.
Yeah, like a clicker.
Yeah, a clicker. Yeah. And we'll be like clicking, you don't imagine how many times, just to count all the open flowers. And
so are you just standing there watching when the bees come in, you click?
Well, actually, like we will click for the open flowers, and then whenever we see a visit, we will mark it down and write it down.
Yep.
But like we have to, since it's a 250 fixed transect, we will walk like forward and backwards all the time. Like we will go all the time walking that transect and seeing every single interaction that is going on there. So we will have the record of not only, like as I told you, not only bees, but also like flies, butterflies. Beetles or whatever that is going to those flowers, to see how the interactions are occurring. So we'll have like the full network, or kind of, well, not the full network, but like a visualization of the network that is going on there.
Because it's an incredibly complex like ecosystem or environment, and to be studying the gut biome and the effects of climate change and different things, there's a lot of variables. But you can see. So you're looking for kind of patterns or trends. For example, the bees going higher up to cool down, and you're hoping to perhaps. Well, I don't know. What are you hoping to find in the gut biome? Sort of just notice changes or.
Actually, since it's a pilot study, we're kind of, for the first time, we're looking at what is in there first, because we don't really know if it should match other records from other places, but maybe we find something completely different. Yeah, that's something that has never been done in our region. Actually, not much in Spain either. So, since it's kind of a new technique that has developed in the past few years.
So, when you're studying what's in there, is it like a DNA analysis?
Yeah. The main thing is the DNA analysis. Also, we are doing an RNA analysis. I don't know if you know that. Yep. So, DNA is kind of like the genetic material. We will tell you what you have, all the information. Let's say kind of a library. But then the RNA will tell you actually what part of that information is actually being used. So we're doing both. For that purpose, to take the RNA, we have to take liquid nitrogen to the field. Oh, right. So we carry actually liquid nitrogen. Yeah. And some of the guts, we will put them in the liquid nitrogen just so the RNA doesn't move. Wow. It's degraded really fast. Yeah, I see. So we need to keep it really cold. So you will take that and you pop the kind of a little vial with the gut into the liquid nitrogen, and you will hear
like a quick death.
You already kill it because you already struck the gut.
You've already pulled the gut out. Or you drop the gut.
You pull the gut out in the field. Because if not, if the bumblebee dies, the RNA will kind of disappear really fast. The DNA always stays because it's inside the nucleus of the cell. But the RNA disappears really fast. So you have to freeze it super fast so nothing can touch or degrade the DNA.
And, so that's quite a complex methodology to extract the RNA.
That's a thing that we actually don't really do. We send that to a company because we don't have the tools to do that. The tools must be super clean. It has to be in a really sterile place with proper technology. So
it's
usually there are companies.
That technology is available and that can be done.
Well,
it's so incredible.
Why is that available? Is that because the commercial honey? Do the commercial honey people have they got a lot of money, and have they already researched a lot of this type of thing?
Actually, even for us, it's not because of that. Our research center doesn't got money for that, but I guess it's also interesting for the honeybee production industry. Yep. It's always beneficial for them to know how to keep because there are many different illnesses and parasites that can affect the honeybees. Yeah. So it's interesting to know how the community is healthy and how the health of that community, and also how can it affect to the rest of the community, to the rest of the ecosystem. As I told you, all these single mothers called wild bees, how are they affected by the influence of the actual honeybees? Because honeybees are the ones that are introduced into ecosystems usually because of the honeybees. Yes. The honeybee hives. Yeah.
Yep. So is there less variation in the honeybees around the world? Are they all sort of a lot sort of tightly clustered around the same species, whereas the natives are sort of more...
That would be it. There are some different species of honeybees, but the main one is Apis mellifera. And even if there are different phenotypes, with phenotypes might be different colors or variations in the morphology, is the same species. Yeah. While the wild species are
I see.
A lot of genus, a lot of different different species.
Yeah, and that's interesting because with when you've got a lot of one thing, it can easily kind of be affected by change. Yeah, that's Whereas when you've got a lot of variation, it's actually got quite a, it's quite strong in some ways.
That's it. Like, that's also one of the things that, like, if you have like different, completely different species that gather from different plants, even if one is missing, usually the rest of them will compensate. Whereas if you only have honeybees, if something happened to those honeybees, then you don't have anything left.
And in Europe, what's so? Kiwis are really proud of their honey.
Manuka honey.
I don't know if it's just like extremely good branding or what, or whether it is very good. I think it's good. It must be.
No, it's actually. Well, sorry.
Oh, and then Europe. Like, is there a honey industry in every country or?
Usually there is like a honey industry in, I guess, every country. It's back to there are even some paintings in caves where they will show how, I think they are in Southeast Asia, but I'm not really sure about that, where they will draw how they will gather the honey from the honeybee hives.
Yeah.
So that's like a really ancient, like even like Egyptians will gather honey, and like there are many, like the honey has been around us for many, many years.
Yeah.
And the Manuka honey, actually, it's quite interesting because I was reading a book about that called Manuka, actually. And the thing is that it has like different properties than regular honey.
Yes.
So it's better for like antibiotics and has like better properties.
Yeah.
So it's actually really interesting how... it seems to be...
So, and that's primarily due to the plant species that the bees gathering the nectar and pollen from. Yeah.
So since they get like the nectar from this Manuka, Manuka plant.
Plants and flowers.
Yeah, they will get different properties. Also, I don't know, in here, I guess it happens too. Like, you will have different kinds of like honeys, just not Manuka honey, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's right.
You will have like different...
honeydew, which is the beech.
Clover honey.
Clover honey or like that kind of, So depending on the plant that they are feeding, you will have like different honey, and also the different honey will have different flavors. Right. Also, what they do usually is blending, so they will have like different types. Well, even the honeys, the honeybees themselves, they will do like blending.
Yes.
They will not only gather nectar and pollen from clovers or from Manuka or from whatever, but they will be mixing it in their hive.
Yeah.
So
and bumblebees. So do they produce like honey, and do they have a store in the same way that the honeybee kind of stashes it away or whatever they're up to?
Yeah, they do like not really honey. They do produce like all the bees usually gather and create this kind of mixture between pollen and nectar.
Right.
So what they usually do, as I told you, like nectar is the sugars and pollen is the proteins.
Yeah.
They will create this kind of mixture in between with both of them, and they will have like a gathering place where they can take it and feed the rest of the larvae. So they usually produce this kind of like stories.
It's like a little cocktail.
Yeah. Little cocktail. Yeah. Let's say like that.
Little glasses and straws.
And they can have it whenever they want to.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So if you dug up a bumblebee hive, you wouldn't necessarily see the dripping honey that we associate with honeybees. No. Okay.
Yeah, that's why like actually not only, but like the main reason why honeybees are so interesting and commercially interesting. Yeah. Just because they have like this use that they produce called honey that we also appreciate a lot.
For sure. I mean, it's amazing stuff, honey.
We have talked about it. We use a honey like from a local apiary called Waiora apiaries, and
it's up in North Canterbury.
Yeah. Their tagline is to not leave any bee behind, I think. Leave no bee behind. And they they try to farm sustainably. And I think that's about leaving a certain amount of honey for the bees over winter, not sort of stripping them all the way back. But it sounds like, the life cycle is quite different from the honeybee to the other one. Like only the queen is left, whereas with honeybees, quite a substantial amount survive the winter. Yeah,
that's it. Like they will survive a larger amount of times just because they have also this storage of honey and stuff. So they they will live several seasons while bumblebees only leave one. So that's also an interesting fact for the guts and the microbiome inside them, because like since honeybees live different seasons, they will be more static or more like conservative in that sense, while bumblebees will have like more not more variation, but like they will have maybe different stages just because they only live one season. So to like kind of create the microbiome is like in a different process rather than the honeybees that they are all living a longer period of time.
And how long do you expect your studies to take? Like going through these the samples that you've got.
Okay, for the moment, my director, that I would also like to thank her a lot, because thanks to her I'm here. So I should say hi to Ainhoa. She's Ainhoa McGrath. She's super cool, and she's the one that made me came here. So I really appreciate it. And she will watch this podcast, so I have to tell her hi. She has funding for like 4 years. So we've been studying for almost 4 years now, or 4 years, the interactions we were talking about before, like the plant pollinator interactions in that natural park actually. So we have a lot of data and a lot of records, and now we are just starting with this new project with the bumblebee guts and honeybee guts. So we will eventually, like in a year or so, introduce honeybees ourselves to the natural park, just to see how they affect to the. So first we're gathering the bumblebee guts and see the microbiome inside them. Then we will introduce honeybees, and then we will see if the bumblebee guts are affected and the microbiome is affected. But what I told you about like leaving the like the interaction with the nectar, that will leave some part of the microbiome in them. So that we will see if the honeybees will affect the bumblebees or not.
And will you introduce a lot or just a few?
So since we have since we have like 16 points, I think the idea, if I'm not wrong, is kind of to introduce them in half of the points. Maybe we cannot do in all of them. Maybe we'll have to reduce the number. For the moment, it's kind of like we will see eventually how we do it. But yeah, we'll introduce like in several points and see how it affects to the rest of the community. Also, since we have the records of the observation and how they have, like the observation, I mean with flies, hoverflies and all of that, we will see how honeybees also affect that. And if we see less interactions, like if we see less hoverflies or less wild bees or less
You will also note that down. That's cool. I love it how, these studies like this, they build upon the studies beforehand and they just create this really amazing picture and stuff.
Yeah, because the more data you have, obviously, the more valid your results are, kind of. Like, you will have more support in your more robust answers for your questions, right? Because you have gathered during more time all those data. So, I guess like our main concern is to see how honeybees affect the ecosystem, just because, as we have talked before, like if you only have one species, that might be also really bad or it can be bad for the ecosystem, I guess.
Yeah. In New Zealand, the thing that makes the headlines is the Varroa bee mite. Is that correct? Yeah, which we hear about. Does that affect the native species as well? We only really hear it about
That's a question I don't really know what to say.
No.
So I'm sorry, I know, but I don't know that.
Is it around? It's a global problem, the Varroa.
But it's a global problem. Yeah, for sure. Like we have also Varroa back in Spain, and that's like kind of the main concern over there too. Like that parasite will kill most of the honeybees. So that's what like they will complain about. Usually the honeybee farmers. About that parasite.
Yeah. Wow. So how long are you here for in New Zealand, do you reckon?
For 6 months. I've been already almost 2.
Oh, right.
So,
man, is it going quite quick?
Yeah. Times go by so fast.
Well, hopefully you'll get a chance to sort of get out in the wilderness and hoon around the place and see country.
Yeah, for the moment I have done a couple of trips and trams and so on. And actually this weekend, since we have a long weekend, I might go to the West Coast to do a little bit of hiking over there.
Yeah, nice.
Fantastic.
It's amazing, this country. For the nature-wise, it's just It has so much wilderness.
I haven't travelled too much, but my brother-in-law is Hungarian, and when he first travelled around the South Island, he just wanted to pull over the car every sort of couple of minutes and take photographs, because the scenery and the landscape changes a lot quicker than what he was used to.
For me too.
And I've travelled through America, and that goes pretty... That does not change from day to day.
You can be like in the car for hours and it will stay the same.
But just driving from Christchurch to Greymouth or the West Coast or Hokitika, I mean, it's a fantastic trip.
Yeah, going through the Arthur's Pass.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's crazy.
I mean, I lived in Arthur's Pass for a while, and that's a cool place. On the other side of Arthur's Pass is Otira, Otira Gorge, and there's a lot of rata, a tree called rata, and with a red flower, and they make honey from that, right?
Yeah,
when you drive through Otira and the rata flowers are out, there's just red all over the the plants and stuff, which is cool, and presumably that's when bees are making heaps of honey.
Hopefully, I guess, are they now in flower? Because hopefully I will be able to see them this weekend.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They must be coming up. I don't know.
Yeah.
Keep talking and I'll Google it.
Because
I was amazed how many flights a bee does going back and forth from the nest out to the flower, back and forth. How many flights do they do a day?
I don't remember the number, but there were like a quite amazing number.
Yeah, it seemed like a lot. It seemed like, man, they work hard.
Yeah, they work hard. Like they actually do a lot of kilometers a day.
Yeah, mate, like busy as a bee.
Yeah, just foraging and like just even for gathering. Like they do a lot of trips. I wouldn't know the exact number, but I know in one of the articles I sent you, like there was a really high number. The thing is more about like the kilometers they do. Like they will usually go to a place, seek there, and once like the main foragers seek and see the flowers, they will tell the rest of them to go there, and kind of like that's why they will go all together.
Oh, there's that whole thing of doing little dances, coming back to the nest and doing little dances.
Yeah, that's like the honeybee dance. I don't know if you...
I have not heard of that.
Yeah, have you never heard of that?
No, I've never heard of that.
That's, the honeybee dance is how the honeybees usually communicate with each other.
Right.
So to tell them the location of the flowers, they would do like a little kind of 8 or infinite shape dance kind of thing.
Wow.
And because of that, they will
that's
tell
out of
them,
control.
Yeah.
That's kind of like alien species, like an actual visual thing, as opposed to, like I would have thought they perhaps would have given them a chemical or something and told them where to go. But they do a visual display.
They will tell them like how far the flowers are and where are located, like east, west, north, or whatever kind of thing.
I wonder if it's like Chinese whispers and they totally get it wrong.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope they actually get it right. It seems to be right because they usually you can find them
presumably.
Around.
So the flowers in the Otira Gorge, it says in the summer months of January and February.
So they're not yet.
The mountain slopes of the Otira Gorge come alive.
Okay.
With the crimson flowers.
So I'll have to be there in January and February. I'll still be here. So.
Yeah. And I mean, no, that just came to mind because of that particular journey. And then on the west coast, of course, there's some, like, I love buying honey on the west coast. So I always buy it from there and bring it back. But that's going to be awesome. So any particular spots on the west coast or?
It's called Greymouth.
Greymouth,
and a little bit south of Greymouth is
Hokitika.
Yep. So around there I will be this weekend, which actually I'm excited for that trip.
Yep, sweet.
And I've been also to Haipuri, where the Gloria Bell community is.
Oh, right.
So I started like a tramp from over there, from that village, and I did like a 3-day tramp around there to 2 different huts called Lake Morgan hut and Concrete hut. They were like super, like I was amused by those views, like my God, it's so beautiful
it's
and
pristine.
Yeah, and once you like, I wouldn't imagine the amount of nature and like the wilderness here, because you just walk and you don't see nobody. Like you can be hours walking in the field and nobody is in there. Like there is just nature. like complete silence. It's completely amazing.
Yeah, it's lovely, eh?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, we I don't want to say we take it for granted, but we forget how awesome it is.
Yeah, because in Europe, I guess like you can go tramping, but you every now and then you will even hear cars because there is a road close by, or I don't know, you even cross a little path or something. Here it's just like there's no path, no road, nor anything, just nature and silence, which is lovely.
Yeah. Yeah, the Department of Conservation, they've got heaps of amazing walks around the place, and it is all really, it's good. They have those little offices around the place, and you can go in there and ask the person behind the desk, and they're just a wealth of information. The guys in Arthur's Pass are really good, and any doc centre is really good. They'll tell you. Even the webpage actually tells you quite a lot of information about the huts, the trails you can do, the paths. It's super amazing, actually.
In Arthur's Pass, you can access the sub-alpine environment really quickly, just from the road.
Like, and it goes up like so much in such a short period of time. Like you can start walking and suddenly be like so high up in the mountains.
Have you been to Kaikoura?
No.
Kaikoura's on the coast. It's just a couple of hours north of Christchurch, and that's unique in the sense that it's like the sea all the way up to the Alpine in one kind of go as well, which is quite cool. The Southern Alps kind of veer in towards the sea, and then as they go up. But that's kind of special. But Arthur's Pass is obviously special in its own way.
Yeah, it's close, and Arthur's Pass. Yeah, but I'm actually like hoping to kind of see much
you're going to have so much fun.
Yeah.
It's going to be cool. Any recommendations for where he should visit? You do a lot of tramping.
Exactly where you're going. It's an awesome area.
You can't go wrong, eh?
Yeah, you can't go wrong. Just follow your nose.
I also want to visit Fjordland.
Yep.
Because they've told me that is gorgeous. So
I've never been there, but I know it's phenomenal. Everybody I know who's been there said it's amazing.
Yeah. I'm actually really hoping to go to Fjordland at some point during my stay here.
Yeah. What side of the road do you drive on in Spain? just as a matter of interest.
In the other side. I can warn
the Kiwis.
When I got here for the first time, it was funny because I was like looking all the time to both of the sides, just like I don't know where they're gonna hit me from, so I gotta look.
That's right. Yeah.
We're right. We drive in the other side. So
what was it like? I've never gone to a country where you have to drive on the other side of the road. What's it like adjusting?
Well, it's weird. Like, in America, we drove on the other side of the road, and then coming back to New Zealand, I accidentally drove on the American side of the road, and that was just for a period of 6 weeks. But it's strange. It's just knowing. It's knowing which way.
I know, so what I have in mind is that I used to have an English teacher back in Spain where I used to have after class English just to improve my English. And that teacher was from Wales, and he will tell us that you have to think as a knight and be like you have a sword in your hand, so you wouldn't hit someone like that, you will hit them like that.
That's great.
And so that's my trick in my mind. So I'm thinking all the time you're a knight, and you have a sword. So how would you hit them to know the right place?
That's awesome.
That's a kind of my trick. So I have a friend also that from Spain. It's actually like a colleague from the field. That he is now in Trinidad, and there in Trinidad they also drive in the other side of the road.
Right.
Well, or in your side of the road here.
Yep.
And he will tell me that you actually have to think that you drive in the middle of the road. The logical thing is that you as a driver, you are in the middle of the road rather than the side. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, that's a cool trick also to know where to be.
Yeah.
Once you have that in mind, I have driven a little bit here and once you get that,
because it's quite windy, and like I say, it can change quite quickly, and obviously, and even the weather. A lot of people get caught out. It can be a blazing hot day in Canterbury. It can be freezing in Arthur's Pass and pouring with rain in Greymouth.
It's the weather thing for me here has been also a thing. Yeah. Because when I got here for the first time, I was like, okay, it seems like a nice day, go out and like when you come back, it's raining and freezing. It's like, it seems to be like a nice day. What is going on here?
Yeah.
So now I've learned to always wear a jacket and take a jacket with me just in case.
You always take your wet weather gear and your warm gear and stuff.
They actually warned me before coming here, but like now I just realize how important it is.
Yeah, I mean, it was Split Ends or Crowded House that did that song for 4 seasons in one day. Which, I don't know if that's where it actually came from or not, or whether that saying was around before.
Oh, no, that saying was around.
It would have been around before
their song, they just used that phrase.
Yeah, they told me about that too, but that's actually quite true. Like, you have the 4 seasons in one day.
No, I used to plant trees in the Canterbury foothills, and man, some days it would go from super hot, like just killing you, to like snowing. Like in 1 hour.
Yeah.
Like it will go through all those cycles, rain, hail, and then it will come out super hot again. Yeah.
So it's interesting the weather in here for sure.
Sweet.
You're not prepared for that.
No. Hey, I'm going to give you the breakfast menu because we give all of our guests breakfast. There we are.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, look, thanks for coming in, John.
Yeah, thanks, man.
It's been awesome talking to you, and I've learnt a whole lot more about bumblebees than what I knew before.
Yeah, the time has gone so fast. Like,
I know. That's an hour, right?
Yeah. It doesn't seem like it.
How did you originally get into this stuff? Just to throw a question in.
No. I really like it.
As we go out.
So I got into this because I always loved nature. I will spend a lot of time in the field, just tramping around and walking around the mountain. And the good thing is that I was working in my city council back in Spain. I had like a year contract, and there was this congress from my director now, Ainhoa, and I went to the congress. I met her there. We kind of get along really good, and she let me work for her 1 season in the field because, as I told you, that we have been this study for like several years. So I worked for her for 1 season. She was really happy with me, and like I was hoping to find something like this. Like I've always loved nature and doing research, so I really wanted to keep doing research. My dream was kind of travel around as a researcher. So.
Well, it sounds like it has a nice mixture of like lab work and field work.
Yeah. You're living your passion.
Like actually, it's
awesome.
Yeah. Like I'm so like happy for this. I'm really like. Yeah.
It's a smart move to live your passion.
I'm just like. I cannot even explain how like happy I'm with all this. Like it's been a several years process because I've been like 6 years or so seeking for finding something like this, but like finally I got it, so I'm just glad that I have this. Like I really appreciate all the effort that I've done, and also like how it's coming back to me, you know, like how I know it's taking care of me, how people here are taking care of me. I couldn't be like more fulfilled, I guess.
That's how it should be. That's our like human ecosystem. All of that working together.
Yeah. It's something like, I guess, it's human ecosystem.
Yeah, something like that.
So, yeah.
That's right. You start seeing, probably in your field as well, you might start seeing metaphor for life.
No. Actually, like biology teaches you a lot of life. It's the science of life, so it actually teaches you for everything, I guess.
Because like, we could have gone into talking about our gut biome and how it affects our moods and all that sort of stuff, which is like, all this new science coming out. So it's such a massive topic.
There is a lot to talk about still, and like
massive. We could talk for hours.
For hours and hours, you can be here. Yeah. We can talk about it like
different methods though. We're not going to be slaughtering people and ripping their guts out.
No, not yet.
Putting it into dry ice.
That's pretty brutal, mate. Pretty brutal.
We don't want that.
Hey, John. Choose an item off the menu if you like, and I'll cook it up for you.
I guess I will with the Palgrimsby Buddy.
Cool.
Yeah, cool, mate.
Oh,
yes, that's your usual. Your usual.
That's the one I love. Yeah, if you ever come here, you should try this because it's amazing.
I should have known you were going to choose that one. Okay, mate.
Thank you.
So, thank you so much for having me here.
That's okay. Cool. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.